Shalom, everybody. It is Rashbi in the house. Rabbi Stephen coming to you again with this week's Devar Torah. So, first of all, congratulations to Erez and Kristen Chen on the birth of their son, River. We did the Brit about a little while ago, about last week, and it was wonderful. It's always wonderful to have somebody new in the family, in the tribe. And this is the circumcision is so important. This is what makes us so different from a lot of the other peoples of the world. This is something we've been doing since Abraham took a flint rock, if you can imagine that, and just, I didn't want to think about it. He was 99, Ishmael was 13, and Yitzhak was just about 8 days old. And this is such an important part of who we are, that if the 8th day falls on Shabbat, you are allowed to ignore some of the laws of Shabbat in order to do the circumcision, in order to do the Brit Milah. So that tells you how important it is. Okay, so anyway, and in another 13 years, we'll have another member for our minions. So, the more the merrier, right? So this week, happy Hanukkah. We start lighting candles Sunday night, and we go for 8 days. And we, of course, are having our candle lighting, a couple of candle lightings around the community. There, of course, by the time you see this, we will have done this already. So, and this Saturday, I would like to see as many of you as can come to Shabbat Shachrit Saturday morning services. It is the only time during the year, and it's not every year, but it is the only time of the year that we take out 3 Torahs. This Saturday, okay, so we take out 1 Torah because of the regular portion, which is Miketz, which is what we're going to talk about today. Then we take out another Torah because it's Hanukkah, it's a festival. It's really interesting. Hanukkah is not a major festival. It's it's just one of those things. People celebrate it because it falls around the same time as the other holiday, and people want to give presents, and we need. And I've also heard that Hanukkah, Festival of Lights, like Christmas and like Kwanzaa, I believe, go back to the ancients, the ancient pagans, when, they saw the sun waning, and then all of a sudden around this time of the year, the days got longer and longer, so they had a Saturnalia. That's what the Romans and the Greeks did. It's the coming of the light. And it's interesting that there's different holidays that fall at the same time of the year, and of course, we as Jews, we don't see it that way. We ignore pagan holidays, and Hanukkah really is to commemorate not just the miracle of the oil lasting 8 days, long enough for the Kohanim to press a whole new batch of oil, but also it was the commemoration of battle. The old story, they tried to destroy us. God intervened. Let's eat. In this case, latkes and jelly donuts, right? So that's the holiday of Hanukkah. But one of the reasons it's not a major holiday is because blood was shed. It was the winning of a battle. And we'll talk about this, but I love to tell this story from the Talmud. Why do we take, we have a candle, we put them in from right to left, but then we light them left to right. And the first day it's the first candle, the second day it's another candle, third day, and so on until we have, the Shamash and the 8 candles for the 8 days. Now, back in the Talmudic period, you have the 2 schools, Hillel and Shammai. Shammai was kind of conservative. He was, a little bit anal, but, that's the way he was. He was very fundamental. Hillel was a little bit more lean, a little bit more progressive, a little bit more liberal. Okay, and there was debate, well, we're going to start the holiday of Hanukkah, which, by the way, means dedication. So how are we going to do the candles? And Hillel says, well, 1 for the first day, 2 for the second. And then Shammai said, well, wait a minute. When they put the oil in for the first day, it was full of oil. The second day, there was less oil, and then less oil. We should really do 8 candles and then go down 1, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, but it was the Midrash says there was a heavenly voice when the 2 of the schools argued. The voice said, Hillel rules out whenever there's a disagreement. So that's kind of the way it was. So to this day, we put the candles in right to left, we light them left to right, and first day is 1 day, then 2, then we remember it was Hillel that wanted to do that. Okay, Miketz. So Joseph has been in prison for 10 years, successfully foretold the dreams of the baker and the wine taster, and the wine taster was released. The baker was hung because it was a pebble in the bread. He could have choked. Pharaoh could have choked. Whereas wine, it was just a fly that got in there. It's kind of gross, but it's not a big deal. I mean, it's not a life-threatening thing. So 2 years later, okay, Pharaoh has a dream. Actually, he has two dreams. He sees these cows on the side of the bank of the Nile, and it says that he is standing over the Nile. And the pharaohs thought they were god kings. The Nile was a god. He thought he was bigger than this river god, right? And the scraggly cows came out of the river and ate the 7 good cows. And then he was startled. He was so vivid. He thought it was something more than a dream, which it really was. And then he went back to sleep and had the dream about the ears of corn. He had the big, full stalks of corn, or the stalk of corn with the 7 ears on it. And then another corn grew, and it was scraggly, and it overtook the other corn, and bam. So the cows and his wise men and his magicians couldn't interpret the dream successfully. And that's when the chief taster said, I remember this Hebrew in prison. He was able to successfully foretell my dream. And Pharaoh's like, well, bring him in. And now the symbolism, and of course Joseph says, getting rushing to tell you the symbolism, but well, stay tuned. A little bit of patience. Something I got to learn sometimes. So Joseph said, "It is but one dream, and I will not interpret the dream. It is God." See, so Joseph gave credit to where credit was due, and he said, "They are one dream. We will have 7 years of plenty, and then 7 years of famine." And God has told Pharaoh what to do. Remember, the scraggly cows ate the full cows. The scraggly corn ate the full corn. Okay, so instead of taking the usual 10% tax for the temple granaries, take 20, store it. Okay, so that's what they were saying. They're saying that the famine in the scraggly in eating in swallowing up the full, they're saying the famine is going to overtake the years of plenty, like didn't even exist. See, so that's how Joseph interpreted the dreams, and it was right. And Pharaoh's like, you're amazing, you're great. I'm going to put a signet ring on you. No one is going to be a second in command besides you. The only person above you is me. Here's my signet ring. We marched them through the streets. Of course, Egypt was kind of xenophobic at the time, and you couldn't have a Hebrew. I mean, my gosh, someone from a Jew running our country. First of many to come, right? But probably politically incorrect. But what are you going to do, right? But he said, you're going to run the economy because you know what you're doing. He gives him a new name, Zappaneth Paneah, which means basically the man who gives food. And I thought about a Paneah. Panera bread? Maybe. I don't know. So now Joseph is in charge. Now he also gives him the daughter of Potiphar, Asenath, to be his wife. Now some sages think that Potiphar with the hyphen between Pota and Phari is the same Potiphar that for whom he served in his house. He was one of the ministers in Pharaoh's court. But the point is, too, Asenath, they say, knew what her mother was up to, and that's one of the reasons Joseph wasn't killed for accosting the wife of a minister, So she was a very moral person. So it was fitting that she became his wife. Probably in a society of pagans, she was probably the most righteous, and he ends up marrying her and carrying out the decrees and overseeing the economy, overseeing the storehouses. And he has 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Manasseh and Ephraim, now remember that when we do the blessing over the child, for a boy, we say, my God, Samecha, make you like Manasseh and Ephraim, because these were 2 people, 2 of his sons that adhered to their faith, adhered to Torah, the laws in the society of pagans, And think about today. Think about today how, kids their age, I mean, it's all about peer pressure, right? So that was quite a remarkable feat. Okay, so the famine is everywhere. The plenty was in Egypt, but the famine is everywhere. And, cut to Jacob with his sons and saying, we got storehouses, we have enough food to last us for a little while. We're going to need more. Go to Egypt, get some more. So the brothers come to Egypt, and they are in front of who? None other than their brother Joseph, whom they don't recognize because it's been 13 years. He has a beard. He's got full hair. He's dressed like an Egyptian. He's speaking Egyptian. He has somebody. He recognizes them right away because they were adults when they left. right? So he wants to see, he doesn't want to reveal himself. He wants to see if they're repentant. He wants to see if maybe his brother Benjamin, who is also the son of Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel, might be in danger. So he tests them. He plants something in their sacks. They come back. He asks for a hostage. He takes Simeon because he wants to separate Simeon and Levi because together they're bad news. Remember, they went through that town and they killed all the men that accosted Dinah. See, and the way the portion leaves off, okay, the brothers have to come back. And he said the condition for coming back is to bring Benjamin with you. So now there's Benjamin. He plans something on Benjamin. He's going to take Benjamin now a hostage, make him a slave, and Judah steps up to the plate. Judah says, no, take me instead. And he gives his word to his father Jacob and says, let me be responsible for Benjamin. Like you, I've lost 2 sons. I know what you're feeling. So that's where we will leave off. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach. Happy Hanukkah. Looking forward to seeing you all Saturday morning and Friday night, of course. But Saturday morning, we'll take out 3 Torahs. Shabbat Shalom.